I never thought a pedal's name would truly reflect how I approach it when I play it, because playing with the habit has really turned into a habit. What's going on, my friends? It's SPJ here, and this is Stompbox Saturday. Today on the show, we are diving into the Chase Bliss habit, the echo collector, the parallel moment generator, the experimental, adventurous digital delay pedal. Anybody who's been watching the channel for any length of time should know by now that I am a much avowed fan of Chase Bliss Audio and their offerings, and have been for many, many years. But Habit was one, when it came out, that I wasn't exactly sure what it could do for me. I wasn't exactly certain if it was going to be something I should even bother checking out. However, after watching a few videos that have been put out in the recent months, I knew I had to dip my toes in this water and see what exactly I could do for a player of my style with my tonal preferences, what this thing would do for me. Now, before we get into hearing any of the sounds generated by Habit, let's first talk about the knobs, switches, and all the different things we can expect when we plug into Habit for the first time. Now, if it helps, you can think of Habit as an experimental digital delay, and a very cool one at that. And if that's all you're really looking for, then you only need to concern yourself with 4 controls, starting with the top 3: level, repeats, and size. Level being the level of the echoes generated by Habit, repeats being the number of echoes that happen, and size essentially taking place of the time control for digital delay. You can also manipulate that with the tap tempo foot switch. Now, the interesting thing about the size control is that as you turn it, you don't get any of those pitch bending artifacts that you normally get from delay pedals. The size kind of cross fades the time stretching of the echoes generated by Habit. It's a really cool thing that, as say you're holding on to a certain echo thing with a large amount of repeats, you can then make those echoes happen quicker or much slower. Now, I said there was a 4th control, and that 4th control is the Modify knob. Now, what this is it sort of acts as a blend control for certain effects that get added onto the echoes that Habit creates. And that knob is connected to 2 toggle switches, 1, 2, 3, and A off B, the left and center toggles underneath the 6 knobs. The A off B is essentially an on-off between 2 different banks of 3 effects that really open up an adventurous quality to Habit purely as a delay pedal. And if you're someone like me who loves basic and loves to get to playing and get inspired very quickly, you can pretty much stop here and roll with Habit. And with that in mind, why don't we just go ahead and do that? First, listening to a bunch of different sounds with Habit purely as an adventurous delay pedal. Now, the first sound I'm going to show you is using Habit as a very basic but very pristine digital delay. We're going to engage the filter modifier, which allows us to tailor the EQ response of the echoes generated by Habit. It works great for crystalline sounding digital delays for cleans, but then you can easily darken it up to use with distorted sounds and lead work. The next sound that I'm going to show you with Habit utilizes the smooth speed modifier. And essentially what that does is it gives you a continuous untuned control of a forward or reverse echo generated by Habit, going up 2 octaves in forward or reverse. It's really cool for effects like, say, chorus and creating some kind of modulation behind what you do, but it could also get very avant-garde if you want. Now this next sound uses a similar effect with the speed, but this time the stepped speed. On this one, the modify knob is tuned in specific intervals to go either 4 times faster forward or reverse than your original pitch. This is one that I like to actually use the dry kill mode. Actually, I like to use dry kill mode on Habit a lot. You can access that with the dip switches on the top of the pedal. But this one, I don't know. If you want to get a little crazy with some pitch shifting, you can go ahead and use this one and it should do you just fine. Now the last modifier I'm going to show you is the stability modifier. As you turn up the modify control clockwise, it not only adds this tape-like modulation, wow and flutter, it also adds in some mechanical white noise to the echoes as well. But if you want to get rid of that noise and don't want it to get too crazy, just go ahead and turn it counterclockwise. You get the same effect, but noise free. Personally, I like a little bit of that noise and a hefty amount of it to lend a nice little warble to some volume swells. Now, you may have noticed a few times during those examples that the far right toggle switch on habit was manipulated ever so slightly. This is the in-out feed switch, and this essentially changes up the way that the internal routing of habit handles the modifiers. Depending on where you have it set, the modifier can either be applied to the input, the output for a more consistent sound, or feed, where everything just kind of starts collecting and is recirculated through the delay engine over and over again. Personally, the way that I find it best to approach this toggle switch, especially if you just like using habit as a delay pedal, is just use your ears. Find the thing that works best for you. Now it's time to get into the adventurous parts of habit with the spread and the scan control. First, let's introduce some spread. Now, according to our handy dandy trusty rusty Chase Bliss habit field guide, spread makes it possible to be in two places at once. It introduces a secondary echo. This echo shares the same size and repeat setting as the primary echo, but it plays a different part of habit's memory. In other words, turning up spread causes habit to play two different moments simultaneously. It's a bit unique. Well, that's a bit of an understatement. Look, I understand. It can all be very intimidating. I understand it. I was intimidated by it too. But Chase Bliss did a great job with this field guide of giving us a way to get the most out of the spread control very quickly, such as multi-tap delays. There's a certain range on the spread control, either from being turned off completely or just slightly under 10 o'clock on the dial, where the spread control essentially adds on a multi-tap delay. Now, again, use your ears with this one, find the size setting that you like, and just turn it in that small range and find something that works for you. Now, I have two settings using a couple different modifiers that I feel really make some fun use of this idea of a multi-tap delay with the modifier. Let's check them out. Hopefully after listening to both of those, you can see that the potential for the multi-tap delay on Habit doesn't just work for clean ambient playing. It can also apply to stuff that's a lot heavier with some big heavy riffs and palm muting. Definitely something that brings a certain Tool vibe to things that I enjoy a lot. But things get really fun the higher up we turn the spread control. Now, when you have spread turned up about this high on Habit, this is where Habit starts introducing the parallel moments idea. You can essentially think by leaving the scan control at its most minimum and turning the spread control up, it's like a micro looper. Except not like the micro looper that's in Mood, which listens to like fractions of a second of what you play. This is something that will remember something you played maybe 20 to 30 seconds before and then repeat it. And so it's like you can kind of infinitely layer on it. Just take a listen to this. I think you'll dig it. Now it's time to introduce the scan control. Now, what is the scan control? Well, Chase Bliss describes it as a way to recycle parts of what you've played into Habit. I suppose I should have mentioned this earlier, but I suppose this is as good a time as any to do so. Habit contains an internal 3-minute tape loop, a memory, if you will, that you can use the scan knob to sort of find your way through. If you have it in its normal mode of operation, it kind of autonomously scans that 3-minute loop and will play certain parts of it back while you're continuing to play with whatever settings you have on Habit. However, I find this sometimes to be a little too unpredictable for my taste, so this is what I like to do. In the dip switches on the top of the pedal, I like to flick down the manual dip switch, and this allows me to utilize the scan knob to manually find that portion of the 3-minute tape loop that I want played back. Then incorporating the spread control, it's going to dictate when that moment comes back into play as I play on Habit. This section of the video is going to be far less about teaching you something through explaining it and more about showcasing it with some audio and some playing so that you understand. This is where we get very experimental and get a little avant-garde and get a little nuts and twiddle a lot of knobs. There you have it, friends. That is my take on Habit from Chase Bliss Audio. I am so thrilled that I got the chance to get one of these and take a listen to it and see what exactly I could do with it. I've had this since a day before the NAMM show, and when I got it, of course, I immediately ran home as soon as I got the delivery notification, plugged this thing in, and started experimenting right away. And it's been a long time. It's been a month's worth of experimenting, trying new things out, and seeing what all I could get out of it. And I am very pleased that for something as far out of my normal taste as Habit is, that it's finding a nice little home for itself when I feel like sitting down with a few pedals and experimenting. But I do want to encourage you all, even if you're not interested at all in the spread or the scan control and just want to have a very cool yet easy to use a digital delay with a bunch of different special effects to make some more interesting digital delay sounds, I still think Habit is worth a look. And we didn't even get into any of the ramping stuff that you can do with Chase Bliss pedals. And I usually like to shy away from that because a lot of people are intimidated by the dip switches. But I will say with Habit that the dip switches come in very, very handy. I love bouncing the filter modifier between a very dark delay setting and then a really brittle, super bright delay setting, and then very slowly going between the two, ramping. It's so much fun. But of course, all of this is just my opinion. I want to know what you all thought of our look at the Chase Bliss Habit. Is there a particular question you have about how it works, or is there something that you would like to hear me try to make Habit do? Let me know what those are in the comments section below. And if you haven't done so already, please do sign up for my email newsletter. It's a great way for us to stay in touch, but it also gets videos like this directly to your email inbox every time they go up. Just click the link in the card in the top right corner of the screen, enter this URL into your web browser of choice, or just do the easy thing and click the link in the description box down below. And I would really love it if you help support the channel with your everyday shopping on my affiliate links. I have links to Sweetwater, Amazon, and Sonic Cake pedals all down in the description box below. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of yours, and until we see each other again, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, and I wish you all watching great tone, great health, and of course, happy stomping. Cheers, friends. See you in the future. God bless.